Happy Death Day to You is once again directed by Christopher Landon and stars Jessica Roth as Tree, and she finds herself trapped once again in a never-ending time loop where she's murdered over and over by someone in a baby mask. The difference this time, though, is that some things have changed about the day. Some of them are minor and some of them are really drastic, and so she has to once again figure out how to defeat this thing. Similar to the first film, this is more of a comedy than it is a horror movie. In fact, more so even. They've really doubled down on the comedy. There's purposefully cheesy montages with pop songs, similar to the first, but in this one, the horror has been relegated to mostly just creeping around hallways, holding a weapon, waiting for somebody to burst out of a corner. Just about every time the film tries to get scary, it goes for that old formula. Somebody is creeping through a hallway and they're nearing a corner and the music is building to a crescendo and there's nobody there and now the person's behind them. That's about the limit of this film's scare factor. There really isn't that much of any. It's definitely going far more for comedy, and in that aspect the film succeeds more often than it fails. Namely because of Jessica Roth. She is the glue that holds this movie together. She's charismatic, giving a performance that's crazy high energy. She's so terrific in this movie, and she's great in the emotional scenes too, which this film has a surprising amount of. There's one choice that's made in the film that I thought was really effective, and I can't get into it because it is a spoiler, but it's a way they switch up things from the first, because now she's in this new environment that she's unfamiliar with. I don't want to get too much into that just in case you didn't watch any of the trailers, because I tried to stay away from them, but she has to deal with things that she didn't expect. I'll put it that way. And that aspect of the film, I thought, added a lot to her character. And it provided a really interesting moral dilemma at the center of her story in regards to a choice that she has to make. And I thought that was a lot deeper than your average horror comedy, because it actually gave the film a considerable amount of heart. But there are times where the movie can overuse that, and the third act becomes a long series of goodbye sequences that just drag on to the point of absurdity, actually. And there's some cringy moments, too, in a lot of this drama. Some of it just is purposefully cringy, like people kiss in slow motion and sparks explode all around them. Like, I get that that's supposed to kind of be tongue-in-cheek and a little bit funny, but I felt nothing, I guess. I don't know if I'm emotionally dead inside. But one of my biggest issues with this film is the direction it takes that the first film didn't have. This film focuses a lot more on science, whereas the first film was more about emotion and feeling. This movie takes a more scientific approach to it, which does some interesting things for Tree's day that she has to relive over and over again. It changes things. It throws a wrench, so to speak, in the clockwork of her plans. But then it just keeps happening over and over again, and the film asks you to buy a lot of things that I just don't buy. And they wisely choose to never show these scenes. For instance, every single day Tree has to convince these 4 people that she's a mathematical genius, and she knows all of these equations that can help reverse what she's going through. And they all have to just believe her and risk being expelled from college to do so. Naturally, they don't show these sequences over and over again because that would get repetitive, but the film just asks you to have a considerable amount of suspension of disbelief at times, and it didn't always work for me. But just like the first one, Jessica Roth is so terrific, and she makes the movie watchable even when it's not that great. Christopher Landon is a talented director, and I like a lot of the things he does here, but whenever the film tries to be scary, it's just the most mainstream, familiar scenes you've seen 1,000 times, and the comedy is a bit hit or miss, and sometimes the emotion gets so heavy-handed that I just couldn't really feel it because the movie kept beating me over the head, telling me to feel it. It's not quite as good as the first one. I think the idea of making it scientific-based was a bit of a mistake. The ambiguity of what was happening in the first film was more intriguing. This film's version of Answers just kind of makes me want to roll my eyes a little bit. And it also sets up a sequel that I have no interest in watching, and I really hope was just kind of a joke, because I really don't want to watch the sequel it sets up. That being said, I admire this film's riskiness. It's got some balls on it. It's not like other horror films that are out right now. I'm going to give Happy Death Day to You a C. I'll say this though, I feel like this movie will benefit if you just watch the first one. If you watch them back to back, it'll probably be a stronger experience for you. Just seeing this one, after having not seen the first for a couple years, that might make it a little less interesting. But Jessica Roth is, again, she's the best part of the film. And I think if you really love the first one, you're going to find things to like. I just didn't really like the direction they took. Guys, thank you so much, as always, for watching. Look forward to more reviews very soon. And if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.